So China has just dropped its massive game plan for the rest of the decade. It's called the 15th five-year plan. And trust me, this is way more than just a government document. It's a strategic blueprint that's going to reshape its economy and honestly make waves across the entire world. Let's dig in and break down what this really means for China and for the rest of us by 2030. And this was the official banner at the announcement. The slogan here really says it all. The blueprint has been drawn, the time for struggle is now. Now, in this context, struggle means something more like a period of intense, focused effort. So it frames this whole plan not as some casual to-do list, but as an urgent national call to action.
So, what even is a five-year plan? Well, you can think of it as the ultimate to-do list for one of the planet's biggest economies. It's this top-down, super comprehensive roadmap that lines up everything from industrial policy and tech research to social programs and environmental goals.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this whole thing. First, we'll get a look at the grand vision. Then, to really get the future, we need to check the report card from the last plan. After that, we'll dive deep into the three main pillars of this new strategy. We're talking tech, people, and security, before we wrap up with the specific scorecard China has set for itself for 2030.
This brings us to the plan itself. Now, it frames these next 5 years as an absolutely critical time. This isn't just another chapter for them. Beijing is looking at this as the essential bridge that connects all its past progress to its pretty ambitious long-term goals.
You know, the plan's own language really gives the game away. It talks about consolidating the foundation and making an all-round effort. This tells us it's a dual strategy. First, lock in the gains they've already made, and at the same time, push super aggressively on new fronts to build the base for becoming a fully modernized nation. You know, to really understand where China's headed, you have to look at where it's been. And the plan actually starts by doing just that, reviewing the successes of the last 5 years. It's basically giving itself a report card that sets the stage for what's next.
First up, the big one, the economy. The plan makes a point of highlighting that China's GDP blew past 140 trillion yuan. To give you some perspective, that's over 20 trillion US dollars, a massive economic milestone, especially considering all the global headwinds.
And on the jobs front, the report card looks just as good. Over 62 million new jobs were created in cities. I mean, that is a critical achievement if you want to maintain social stability and keep that consumer economy humming. And these economic numbers, they're not just abstract figures, they translate directly into people's lives. The average life expectancy actually climbed to over 79 years, which is a really clear sign of broad improvements in things like healthcare, nutrition, and just overall quality of life. But it's not all celebration. After taking a victory lap, the document pivots to a pretty sober look at the world it's facing. The key phrase here is that the plan is being launched into an environment of what it calls profound and complex changes. And here's what those changes are. On the international side, it's pointing to things like geopolitical friction, rising protectionism, and a global economy that's just not growing fast enough. But then it also looks inward at domestic challenges like weak consumer demand, the ongoing risks in the property sector, and the fact that rural areas are still lagging behind. All of this really sets the stage for the plan's main priorities. So, how is the plan going to tackle all these challenges? Well, it all starts with Pillar 1. Tech and industry. You can think of this as a strategy to fortify the economic engine with a laser focus on building up domestic strength and self-reliance. The language here could not be clearer. The number one priority is self-reliance and self-strengthening. And this is tied to a really key concept they call new type productivity. So what does that mean? Basically, it's about shifting from being the world's factory to being the world's inventor, driving growth through homegrown innovation, not relying on foreign tech. This is the absolute core of their economic strategy. And hey, this isn't just aspirational talk. The plan gets super specific. It's targeting foundational tech like building its own domestic operating systems. It's focusing on what it calls industrial mother machines. These are the high-precision tools that build other machines. And it's pushing hard into advanced fields like surgical robots and superalloys. Every single one of these targets is specifically chosen to reduce a dependency on the outside world. All right, let's move on to the second pillar, which shifts the focus inward, to the population itself. If that first pillar was all about building the engine, this one is all about providing the fuel, a strong, prosperous domestic market. The strategy here is basically a virtuous cycle. On one hand, you build a stronger domestic market, so you're less reliant on exports. And on the other, you push this idea of common prosperity, which is really about shrinking the wealth gap and growing the middle class. The logic is pretty simple. A more prosperous population creates a more stable and powerful domestic market. And to get there, the plan lays out a very clear social agenda. Yeah, it's about creating better jobs and growing the middle class, but it's also about beefing up the social safety net, especially for the elderly and for things like childcare. It's a really comprehensive vision for a more stable society that can power its own economy from the inside out. So, the third and final pillar combines two massive long-term challenges: building a green economy and guaranteeing national security. And it doesn't treat them as separate issues. It sees them as two intertwined parts of a secure future. The whole environmental vision is captured in this one phrase: building a beautiful China. And this isn't just about cutting down on pollution. It's about a fundamental green transformation of the entire economy and society. And these aren't just empty words. The plan sets hard, measurable targets. Just look at the goal to get non-fossil energy up to a full 25% of total consumption by 2030. For a huge industrial economy, that is a massive shift. It also includes specific numbers for cleaner air, more forests, and better water quality. This is the real data behind that beautiful China vision. Now, the other half of this pillar is security. And in a world that the plan itself calls complex and profound, there's a huge emphasis on self-sufficiency. It specifically targets food and energy security, with the goal of building a buffer that can protect the country from any major global supply chain disruptions. So, after all the strategies and all the pillars, what does success actually look like? Well, the plan boils it all down to a final scorecard, a set of key indicators that will measure its performance by the end of the decade. This slide right here is the ultimate cheat sheet. It gives us a snapshot of what China aims to look like in 2030 if everything goes to plan. And you can see how the pillars are reflected in these numbers. That 7% annual growth in R&D, that's Pillar 1, the tech engine. The low unemployment and a life expectancy of 80, that's Pillar 2, all about the people. And those specific goals for forest coverage and grain production, we're talking over 725 million tons. That ties right back to Pillar 3, securing the future. This is the final checklist. So that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial question. This blueprint isn't just about the year 2030, it's really the foundation for China's ambition to be a fully modernized nation by 2035. If this succeeds, the world is going to be dealing with a China that is way more technologically independent, powered by its own consumers and secure in its own resources. And the biggest question of all is, what does that mean for everyone else?